This show is a member of the Planetside Podcast Network. To learn more, go to planetsidepodcasts.com.
Welcome to I Shouldn't Have to Say This, the podcast where we discuss topics we believe requires critical and nuanced thinking. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at saythiscast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at saythiscast, and go to saythiscast.com if you want to hear previous episodes. Hello, Party Podcast people. Welcome to a very special episode of I Shouldn't Have to Say This. And by special, I mean completely and totally average. I'm Nicole, and I'm joined here today with my co-host, Janra.
Hey. I mean, he got me in the first half, not gonna lie.
And today, it actually is special, I just realized, because we're going to bring back a very special and old, I shouldn't have to say this, tradition. And I'm going to set up a scenario for you people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So say we aren't in the middle of a pandemic and you're in some sort of social setting, party, wedding, bar or something, and you're kind of talking with this normie dude. And you're kind of skirting around the issues of politics, but it seems like the person that you're talking to isn't exactly politically motivated. And somehow you end up on the topic of healthcare. The guy mentioned something about how their insulin prices just went up, and they really fucking hate the insurance company, and they're a little bit annoyed about it. But they feel mostly okay, so it's probably fine that they've had to start rationing their insulin. Being that you're both American, you both fucking hate paying for anything. The conversation is going at a reasonably pleasant clip, and you have some of your own woes about healthcare costs, as we all do, so you've mentioned those. And over the course of the conversation, you kind of get the idea that this guy is like, a normie, no CEO of Antifa type. And they have normie concerns. But you decide that, doing your part for the cause, you're going to mention that we need a revamped healthcare system. In the split second that you have to decide what kind of approach you're going to take, you think about pushing hard for Medicare for All with exactly that name and making your arguments and kind of pushing forth on your very left-wing bend. And then another idea pops into your head. You make those very same points without endorsing Medicare for All, making sure that you kind of distance yourself from those ideas, but just kind of bring up open-ended questions about hey, is this the way that healthcare needs to be? Wouldn't it be cool if you could just walk into the pharmacy and get your medications and walk out and they didn't charge you $1,000 on the way out? What happens if we didn't have co-pays? Things of that nature. And you decide, hey, I'm just going to go with the latter one. I'm just going to, have a normal conversation like human beings. So you do. And it goes well. You don't agree on everything. They still think that they should have to pay something out of pocket, and they're a little bit turned off by the idea of paying a little bit more so that everybody could go get their medications for free. But, you both kind of have a reasonable conversation about, even if you, had your taxes raised marginally, that, they'd never have to pay for that fucking insulin again. And they get it. Well, there's another version of this conversation. You call it Medicare for All, and the normie calls you a commie, and the conversation ends on poor terms. So why have I set up this belabored hypothetical? Political labels are useful sometimes when finding community or using them as a shorthand to understand each other's political positions. If somebody's a conservative, I can make a lot of judgments that are typically correct about the type of beliefs that person has, the type of values they have, and if I want to be around them. Similarly, if they're a Democrat or a socialist, I can make certain judgments, but there are a lot of permutations within those categories, so it's a little bit difficult. But the downside of this is that when you have to carry the baggage of those terms, it can really shut down a conversation, especially if you're more of a radical. Which I am.
I was waiting.
And I think that a lot of us, that a lot of y'all listening can feel similarly to that. Like, I'm sure that we have some centrists here, but most of us are left-leaning. Recently, I've decided to kind of move away from calling myself a socialist. Perhaps the biggest departure that I've made is that I'm trying not to make my entire personality my politics. You know, these days, I call myself a progressive more often than not. And if people say, like, are you a Democrat or a Republican, rather than saying, I'm an independent, I hate the Democratic Party, I usually just say, like, you know, I'm a Democrat, but I got my issues with them. And, you know, if it really comes down to it, the furthest left I'm going to go is Social Democrat, because it really holds most of the prescriptions that I have. And there's no reason to tell people that I'm a socialist, because I don't think that any sort of revolutionary action is going to be possible within my lifetime. Nor would it really be called for, but that's another episode. Some of the other things that I'm starting to change about my vocabulary is that even though I've never been quite fond of those eat the rich jokes, nor the late stage capitalism jokes in response to, you know, late stage capitalism, I'm eliminating those as well. And I did this with I hate white people jokes a long time ago. And so, carrying that one forward. And I will never, ever, ever fucking call anybody my comrade. I'm so sorry if some of my friends from the DSA are listening to this. I've been in the chapter a while, and I appreciate the spirit and the sentiment. I just hate it. Y'all my neighbors.
So you're not doing, like...
I'm not
USSR
USSR posting.
Oh, really? I mean, what am I going to do with all these? I should have to say this hammer and sickle shirts.
Ah!
No!
I don't know.
Oh, no!
Oh, no.
But what, so are you not making those jokes at all, or do you mean just in public? Like, if me and you weren't recording, would you make a I hate white people joke or not?
Of recent times, I've been trying to make my politics align a little bit more with the way that I want the world to be. So I don't want white people to be like this different class of people, and I don't want to treat them differently. Over time, I've actually started to feel differently about those ways that, like, sometimes in closed spaces we talk about white people. So I think it's a little bit uncomfortable. And, like, since that, I've kind of, like, even become uncomfortable with, like, the Black excellence stuff, because I'm like, I think that sometimes when people go on the Black excellence stuff or the Black women should rule the world stuff, it's not because they believe the material conditions of, you know, Black people or these Black women led to them being, like, incredible people. I think it's, like, you know, a biological skull-shaped thing sometimes, and I don't want to be anywhere near that.
And we really don't want we really don't want Black supremacy.
Yeah, I don't want white supremacy, and, like, this is a meme because Black supremacy doesn't really, like, exist, but, like,
Really
Hoteps do believe in Black supremacy, and I just never want to be mistaken for a Hotep, if you know what I mean.
I honestly don't think that is possible.
Yeah, I know, but still, I fight against all things that move people towards a Hotep position. And that goes especially for, like, the kind of, like, isolationist, like, we can be self-sufficient and we don't need other people and shit like that, because I think it's a little bit fucked up. Like, my aspirations for humanity is not for every little group of people to have their own personal enclaves. It would be to get to a position where we can all live somewhat amicably, and we put the white supremacists on the trash flotilla and let the Lord of the Flies that shit out.
Just let them have the trash island.
Yeah, let them have Trash Island. They can call it Australia too.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's not like I'm hiding any of this shit either. I think that the eat the rich jokes, in the last couple of weeks, from whenever you're listening to this discourse will probably still be going on. A lot of very prominent liberals, social Democrat types and like, very progressive liberals have started to turn on lefties because of this type of rhetoric, because they start to believe that socialism necessitates a certain level of violence and that people want this to happen soon and undemocratically. And this couldn't be farther from the truth for me personally. But also, at the very same time, I realized suddenly that even though I'm a socialist who thinks that, revolution will probably be necessary if the ruling class decides, we're not going to let you vote for what you want to do. We'll have to do something about that. But I think that there are a lot of people who fetishize the concept of revolution.
Now, that is definitely true.
And it's fucking cringe.
Really odd.
Because revolution is necessary, but it is also brutal. I have no desire to kill my countrymen, even the ones I find extremely distasteful. And I have no desire for the working class to fight other working class people, with half of them in defense of the ruling class. That's not what I want. I would much rather revolution not be necessary at all. That's not my belief, but it is my wish. The problem is there are a lot of LARPing tankies and 15-year-old anarchists, not to be confused with anarchists who, think about things at all, that hold these super extreme positions on every single issue, and they don't have anything but memes and ways of justification. Now, I know I'm not that. I'm pretty radical. Again, I don't know how you could look at the state of the world honestly and not hold radical ideas. Shit's broken. We have to do stuff to fix it, and many of those things are radical. But that's very different than being somebody who believes in utopia or other such fairy tales. It's the reality of the situation. Police reform leading to abolition is a must. A Green New Deal is a must. Universal health care is a must. And wide-scale infrastructure plans are a must. And all of these are incredibly radical ideas that probably don't make much financial sense in the short term, but will secure the lot of the human species, at least in the United States and probably the world going forward. And so is pushing for a democratic workplace. Yet, again, it's what must be done. And sometimes I feel like people are more amicable towards these positions if I don't say, hey, I'm a socialist, because they don't think of social democrats or people who fight on behalf of the working class or maternity leave or paternity leave or the 5-day work week when they hear socialist. They hear the USSR, Maoist China, and other instances of socialism which, were kind of humanitarian disasters, if you really put it that way, and also largely vilified.
Yeah, there's a long tradition but also very, very much in the last 15 years of anybody that mentions anything remotely socialist, someone bringing up Venezuela or something like that. And
Vuvuzela. The fucking Vuvuzela argument. Oh. Yeah, the problem is when you say that you're a capitalist or whatever, capitalists understand that capitalism is a really rich tradition and that there are about 1 million permutations of capitalism ranging from Coconut Island to
Coconut Island?
Yeah, so for those that you don't know, there's a internet meme called Coconut Island, which is the true libertarian hellscape. You both essentially it goes like this. So you and another person crash land on an island and you're knocked out and the other guy goes and they collect a bunch of coconuts on the island, all of the coconuts on the island. Then you wake up and the guy says, yeah, I'll give you a coconut. All you have to do is suck my dick. And that's wage labor under capitalism. But anyways, to the social democracies of the Nordic region. So capitalism gets to have this super rich tradition, but socialists are stuck in time. We can't move forward past Vuvuzela. We're always associated with socialism's failures and never its successes. Or the successes are diminished to the point where capitalists don't mind. capitalism is never associated in these people's minds with capitalism's many failures. It's always associated with the success stories or the mixed bag that it is. And so, don't be evasive, don't lie. There's no scenario where you should say you're a capitalist if you're not. But most people won't ask you if you are or aren't if you're not talking directly about it. So just, try to avoid those buzzwords that make you have to own a bunch of positions that you don't. And just speak from the heart and try and cut past the bullshit. That's what I'm trying to say.
Makes sense to me.
In our polarizing political climate, it's become difficult to find shows willing to discuss, much less listen to, different points of view.
Our job is to talk about things we hope you'll find interesting without all the shouting.
To disagree without being disagreeable. To provide incisive, factual commentary that cuts through the weekly spin cycle and aims to enlighten, not enrage, our listeners.
So check out Civil Politics on your favorite podcast service or go to civilpoliticsradio.com.
Civil Politics is a member of the Planetside Podcast Network.
All right, so we're going to talk about some positive things, some happy things, some things that are giving us, some escape from the Vuvuzela argument. This is the first time I've heard of that. But anyway, Nicole, what is making you happy currently right now in time?
I started making jars of iced tea, like cold brew iced tea. So essentially just taking some Darjeeling tea, putting it in like a mason jar and putting it in the fridge. And it's very simple, but it's very aesthetic, and it's nice because it gives me a drink that is relatively healthy, slightly caffeinated, and ready-made at any time. And the reason that it makes me happy is that I've known that I wanted to do this for literally about 5 years, and I never once fucking did it because I'm a piece of trash. But I finally decided that I was going to break away from my laziness, and it feels good.
God.
What's making you happy, Janra?
God damn it.
That's not a joke either. I wanted to do this for 5 fucking years.
Did you just nag yourself? Is that what just happened?
What? Myself?
Backhanded compliment.
Oh.
Just negging. You know negging?
Oh, I don't. But yes, I did. That's all I do. But I'm happy that I did it. It's just that, it's such a small thing, and I didn't do it for 5 years, and I knew that it would be a small thing and that I would like it. But I did it finally, and that's what's important, I suppose.
That's what's important. That you did it. That's okay. Give me a sec. All right. So I'm totally leaving that in. My thing that is a happy thing. Y'all might think that I sound a little different. Because I got a new setup. Partially because all of you guys are so generous and so helpful to the show. I got a mic arm and a pop filter and a new mic, which is hopefully going to sound really good.
It does, yay!
Yay! I've got I've done other things to enhance my setup. I got a new monitor and monitor arms, and stuff I've been trying to save up for and trying to figure out how to get for a while. And because I'm at my desk all the time, I'm like, I should probably have a really good setup here because I'm always sitting here, which is really great. So yeah, this has been really cool to just figure out and set up, and hopefully it'll enhance the podcasting that I do, not just here, but with other Planetside shows. And the last thing is I got a mouse that has 12 buttons on the side.
I'm so jealous.
I got an MMO mouse, and there's a woman on Twitter called she's Ashley Lynch, and she does a lot of editing, like trailers and things like that. And a couple of years ago, she posted like, "This is my secret weapon." And she posted this MMO mouse with all these freaking buttons on the side, and the thing is, they're all macroed, so I can program it to do anything, and it's really helping my editing for this show. So, yeah, there have been improvements in my podcast setup, and place to do work is really fun and important to me. So that's my thing.
I'm jealous of you on the note about your mouse because I
Mhm.
used to have a really cool MMO mouse back in the day when my hands weren't bad, and now I have to use this like awful vertical mouse that has no extra buttons.
Oh, you have a vertical mouse? I actually, honestly, I thought about getting a vertical mouse.
It's really the
There-
only thing that keeps me like functional. My right hand was like when I was using like a traditional mouse,
Mhm.
but it got into a point where I was like in like constant pain. So like this keeps me
Oh.
much better health, but it's at the horrendous and steep price of my 9 programmable, but actually was it 9? It was 15 programmable buttons on the side of my MMO mouse, and I miss them every day.
You wanna hear something really horrible? Okay, so it has, and I'll actually post a picture on the website. It has 12 buttons on the side, 2 buttons in addition to the scroll wheel on the top, and the scroll wheel can go like left to right as well. The fun thing is about it, it's a G600, and with that, there is an additional button. There's the right button, there's the left button, and there is a more right button that if you press that down, it's called the G shift button, and you can program the other buttons to do other stuff if that button is held down. So you have like
That's nasty. Wow,
40
I love it.
40 things that you could do.
I fucking love it. Oh god, I miss macros because those were the days where like I wanted to play like MMOs, but like I did them like head empty, so I would just do it with like playing with one hand, which was really awful. And now I have to play them traditionally, and I'm like, but I don't wanna. So then I
But
don't.
yeah, I'm able to edit with like simple stuff. I'm able to edit with one hand. It's really great. Except that I injured my thumb. I'm still an OT for it. So I have to be careful about that. Anyway, gone off about a mouse for a long time. But anyway, thank you so much for listening to I Shouldn't Have to Say This. We have episodes twice a month. And if you want to subscribe or know more about the show, then you can go to saythiscast.com. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email saythiscast@gmail.com. You can also tweet at us, that is at saythiscast. And if you want to support the show, there's a couple ways you can do that. There's Ko-fi, ko-fi.com/saythiscast. You can do a one-time pay thing, so you can help us further enhance the show, help us enhance the website, and do all sorts of cool things. You can also become a patron. That's patreon.com/saythiscast. There you get a lot of extras. We are, for $5 a month, you can hear the episode early. For $10 a month, you get to hear the episode early, and you get extra mini episodes that we record. And above that, it's good. It's a good idea. So everybody, patreon.com/saythiscast. Nicole, where can we find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Jack of3Trades and on my inactive Twitch account at Jack of3Trades, and that's 3 is in the number.
And you can find me online at PressStartLock on Twitter, and on my languishing Twitch account at Press Start Morlock. And oh yeah, one more thing. I do a show called Press Start to Continue, where I play video game remixes, nerdcore, hip hop, stuff like that. And I am going to be doing live recordings of Press Start every Saturday on the Bytes and Beats channel on Twitch. Saturday, 7 p.m. To 9 p.m. It's going to be really cool. We're going to be able to have people in the chat making requests. And if you want to know more about Press Start to Continue, you can go to starttocontinue.com. The Twitch channel is Bytes and Beats, BYTESANBEATS. So definitely subscribe to that. Saturdays at 7. You'll be able to hear some super nerdy music. It's gonna be fun. All of the music that we play on the show is by Mustin. You can go to store.mustenenterprises.com to purchase the theme song and other awesome music. I shouldn't have to say this, is a member of the Planetside Podcast Network. To learn more, go to planetsidepodcasts.com.
Say we aren't in a pandemic and you're at work or bark. So say we are. Fuck.